Hello, good morning. We would like to do the technical test first before our international webinar started. Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to do the technical test first with the speakers before we start our webinar. I would like to greet our guests, our speakers today. Hello, good morning, Dr. Yuli WIDYANA. How are you?
Good morning, how are you?
Okay, nice. Is there any problem with the connections or the microphone? I hope it will run smoothly.
So far so good, Alhamdulillah.
Okay. All right. I also want to greet Dr. Dwi Aji Prajoko. Good morning, Dr. Dwi Aji Prajoko. Please unmute your microphone. Good morning. I think Dr. Aji uh, needs help. Well, I'm gonna greet our special guest today from University Putra Malaysia, Dr. SYED. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine. How are you too?
Okay. Yeah, we're too. How is the situation there in Malaysia during this pandemic?
We are progressing
Mhm.
with the speedy vaccinations. The rate is quite high
Okay.
and it's pretty good. The people, steadfast. We should battle it together lah.
Okay. Here in Indonesia, we are still in the emergency public activity restriction, so we're not allowed to go to work. We're not allowed to go anywhere freely because
Yeah,
of
we are
this.
here. We are here. Some states are still under
Okay.
movement control order.
Oh, okay.
But a few states have entered the second phase,
Oh.
which is a better conditions
Mhm.
because their cases are lower.
All right. Good news then.
Yeah. Good news for some states for example, Terengganu, Kelantan, Pahang, and also in a few days, Sarawak will also enter the second phase.
Okay.
But here in Lembah Kelang, we are still fighting
We're
as
also the
usual.
same. Yeah, we're also the same. We're fighting the COVID pandemic nowadays.
How's Surabaya? I love Surabaya.
Surabaya is fine, but still Surabaya, Madiun are in the public activity restriction because the pandemic is still in a high rate. The spreading is really fast, and we could hear the siren of ambulance almost every day. So we're still fighting, just like you there.
Yeah, hopefully conditions will improve.
Yeah, we hope so. Well, thank you very much, Dr. SYED. Welcome. We would like to open our webinar in a minute. Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
I'm lost in a city, still so far from home. I've searched for you all my life. Cast out like a shadow, racing towards the light. I pray to see you one more time.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the international webinar on politeness in translation and pragmatics perspectives. Today on Tuesday, July 13, 2021. This event is specially organized by the English Study Program, Faculty of Communication Sciences, WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University. I'm Priska, I will be the moderator of this webinar, the host and also the moderator, of course. I'm from the English Study Program, Faculty of Communication Sciences, WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University. Well, so happy to be here today with all of you amidst this pandemic. In this pandemic situation, we still could get knowledge. We could still share our knowledge, and also we could share our ideas through this webinar. Hopefully, that this webinar will be the way out for us to find new informations, to get new insights from the speakers that has been invited by our committee. So before we started, I would like to greet our beloved participants coming far away from here, from Indonesia. They are from India. Hello. Hello from for those coming from Sri Lanka, France, United Arab Emirates, Malaysia, Pakistan, Yemen, and Azerbaijan, and also our Indonesian fellows who has already joined in this Zoom meeting, and also in YouTube channel. Hope we are all still in a good health condition. We are all healthy, happy, and always blessed wherever you are. So to start our international webinar today, we're going to pray for a little while. We are going to pray for our event and also for the condition of our world. So it would get better really soon, and the pandemic will be over soon. We're going to pray together. Pray, begin. Finish. Now we're going to sing the Indonesia's national anthem, Indonesia Raya. We're going to hear Indonesia's national anthem and Widya Mandala Surabaya's hymn. Well, that's the Indonesia's national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and also the Widya Mandala Surabaya Catholic University hymn. Now we're going to hear an opening speech delivered by the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Communication Sciences to Ibu Christina Maya Iriana Sari SS M.Hum. Time is yours.
Yep, thank you, Ms. Priska. Can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Salam sejahtera. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Communication Science, Ibu Brigita Revia, the Honorable Speakers, Dr. SYED NURULAKTA, SYED ABDULLAH from University PUTRA Malaysia, Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO, and also Dr. YULI WIDYANA from WIDYA MANDALA, the honorable lecturers, colleagues, and participants, and also my beloved students. Thank you all for your attendance in the webinar of English Language Study Program, Widya Mandala Surabaya Catholic University, Madiun Campus. I hope everyone keeps safe and healthy. Thanks God, we can virtually meet you all in the webinar. Now in Indonesia, we were in the state of emergency public activity restrictions. And on this occasion, I would also like to introduce the change in the name of our study program. Before we were English Literature Study Program. And since the merging of two Widya Mandala Catholic University, Surabaya and Madiun in 2019, and due to the adjustment of the nomenclature, we become English Language Study Program under the Faculty of Communication Science. So our English Language Study Program is the study program outside main campus, or it is called PSDKO. We are located in Madiun, East Java. And then thank you for all the committee so that we are able to hold this webinar. The webinar is coherent with the flagship and positioning statement of Widya Mandala, that is a life improving university, which means that we will continuously strive to improve and develop life. That we also commit to always put forward the process of learning. One of it is learning across cultures. We have speakers from University PUTRA Malaysia. Thank you, Dr. SYED NURULAKTA, for being the speaker of our webinar, collaborated with Widya Mandala lecturers, Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO and Dr. YULI WIDYANA, to share knowledge in the topic of politeness. Politeness is a social phenomenon, and a social phenomenon largely manifested through the use of language. And politeness is generally thought to be a good thing. There are varying gradations of polite and impolite behavior or spoken language. In general, politeness is said as practical application of good manners so as not to offend others. What is considered polite in one culture can sometimes be seen rude or odd in another cultural context. Also, politeness strategies are affected by cultural convention. And the topic of today's webinar is politeness in pragmatics and translation perspectives. I hope that today we have engaging discussion. Have a nice webinar with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bu Maya, for the opening speech. We're very happy to be here meeting online all of the participants from all over the world. So before I introduce you the speakers of our webinar today, all the great speakers, I would like to invite all of the participants to be on cam, since we are going to take photos together online, of course. We're going to take picture together, so I hope that everyone will be on cam, and also everyone would give the best smile for this morning, okay? Are we ready? We're going to take the first slide. Okay, just a second. We're going to prepare it. Just prepare your best smile because we're very happy, since even though we are having the public activity restriction, we still could do this webinar. So we're ready. We're taking the first slide. Second slide. Next, the third slide. The fourth slide. Next one, the 5th slide. The 6th slide. Will it be the last? 7th slide. Oh, we still have one more slide. 8th slide. Okay, this is the last. Well, all right. Everyone has been looking so happy in the camera. Hope that you are really happy there, wherever you are. Happy and healthy, of course. So I would like to introduce you the speakers of our webinar today. The first one is Dr. Yuli Widyana M.Hum from WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University, MADIUN campus. Good morning, Dr. Yuli.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine.
Ready to present the presentations today?
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I'm going to greet the second speaker of our webinar, Dr. SYED NURULAKTA bin SYED ABDULLAH. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to greet the third speaker of our webinar. Sorry, Dr. SYED is from University PUTRA, Malaysia. And the third speaker of our webinar is Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO M.Hum from WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University MADIUN campus. Good morning, Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO. I think he's having a technical problem. We're going to help him out with this. But before we hear the presentations of our speakers, I would like to read a little bit the regulations of this webinar. First is we hope that all participants will remain silent by keep the microphone mute. So during the speaker's presentation, so it would run smoothly. Second, participants are suggested to use the virtual background and also be on cam. And then after that, each speaker will be given 30 minutes to present the paper. And I hope that you could deliver your question later in the question and answer session in the end of the speaker's presentation. After all of the speakers present all the materials, then you could deliver the question and answer. We could do the question and answer session. Now, without further ado, we would like to invite the first speaker of our webinar today. She is Dr. YULI Widyana M.Hum, a doctor in linguistics, pragmatics, and social linguistics. She was born in Bandung, 17 July. You could guess the year in which she was born. And she got her bachelor degree from the English Language and Literature, 11 Maret University, Surakarta, Indonesia. She got her master degree of linguistics in Pajajaran University, Bandung, Indonesia. And her doctoral degree was in linguistics pragmatics from Universitas 11 Maret, Surakarta, Indonesia. She is now senior lecturer at English Study Program, Faculty of Communication Sciences, Universitas Katolik Widya Mandala Surabaya Kampus Kota Madiun. She has been teaching here since 1997 till present. And besides as an educational practitioner, she is also an announcer and producer at PT Radio Duta Cakrawala Serasi FM or Radio DCS FM Madiun from 2003 till present. Her current publication is on a pragmatic study on jokes and the implication in broadcast messages. It is published on International Journal of Humanities and Social Sciences in 2014. Then second is Metaphors and Arguments to Semantic Political Metaphor in Indonesian Mass Media. and its persuasive effect towards readers. It was published on CALT, a journal of culture, English language teaching and literature in 2016, accredited national journal. Then the third publication is Intrusive Busybody or Benevolent Body, Fatigue Communication Among Japanese Women. It was published on GEMA Online, Journal of Language Studies, released by the UKM Press in 2020, Scopus Q1. And her current conferences was a socio-pragmatic study on social critics in meme comics, presented in Prasasti Proceeding 2015 by UNS Press Surakarta, Indonesia. And then the second is a cross-cultural pragmatic study of advice-giving speech act in friendship domain in Japanese culture and American culture, presented in Socio-In in 2017. It is published on the 4th International Conference on Education, Social Sciences and Humanities in 2017, Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And the third conference is in the International Conference on Emerging Issues in Economics, Social Sciences and Business Management in 2018 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, under her research, Small Talks of Japanese Female Students, a cultural-based gender fatigue speech act of modern women for global social networking. Last but not least, her current internship, she was enhancing international publication program or program peningkatan kualitas publikasi internasional or sandwich-like at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, started from October till December 2019, sponsored by Directorate for Human Resource Qualifications, Directorate General of Higher Education, the Republic of Indonesia. Now we're going to hear her shared material on politeness in internet-based communication. Time is yours for 30 minutes, Dr. Yuli.
Thank you very much, moderator. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And before I start my presentation, I would like to greet my honorable colleagues. First, from University PUTRA Malaysia, Dr. SYED. Assalamualaikum, how are you? Unmute, please. I cannot hear you.
Alhamdulillah, Dr. Yuli.
Alhamdulillah, nice to see you here, Dr. SYED. Long time no see since 2019.
Thank you for the invitation.
This
is special.
Yeah, this is my pleasure to have you here, and it's a very precious reunion. Okay. Hopefully, we can see each other again in Malaysia or in Indonesia after this pandemic is over.
Yes.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, thank you. Next, my honorable colleague from the same university, Dr. Aji. How are you? Good morning. Are you still on technical problems? Okay. Well, thank you very much for all the participants for attending this international webinar. And it's an honor to have you here. Some participants are from all over the world. Okay, Dr. Aji, are you here already? Nice to see you. Long time no see also because we work from home. Okay, and I would like to greet the participants from abroad, from participants from Malaysia, especially participants from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. I've been there in 2019 for 3 months. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be there and to know some of the lecturers there, and especially in PKBL, Pusat Kajian Bahasa dan Linguistik. I was in research attachment with Dr. Muhammad Zain Sulaiman. Well, I also want to greet the participants from India, from Sri Lanka, Azerbaijan, United Arab Emirates, and from Yemen also, from France, and all the participants from Indonesia, my my best friends and my classmates in UNS University, 11 Maret University. Some of them are here too. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. Hopefully we can have new ideas here, and also we can discuss some new inventions in this webinar. Well, I think I would like to start my presentation by sharing screen. Okay, I hope everybody had already get my screen. Try to have a slideshow. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here I would like to share my presentation about politeness in internet-based communication, a perspective of cyber pragmatics. Actually, this topic is based on some of my research here. It's not only from one research, but I try to collect some research related to cyber pragmatics, because cyber pragmatics is a very interesting topic for research in pragmatics field. And this is also the new approach in pragmatics that is very interesting to explore, and it still need more exploration. And the background why I do this research is, first of all, during this pandemic, the internet-based communication, or IBC, develops rapidly, and everybody experience or undergoes the change, the massive change of communication channel, and it contributes to the use of different strategies in performing fatigue talks as part of politeness strategies. And specifically, I would like to discuss about how Japanese perform fatigue talks on IBC as politeness strategies. Why Japanese? Because Japanese is the majority of ethnicity in Indonesia who lives in Java Island. And some theories that could be the underlying theories for cyber pragmatics analysis is the theories from Francisco Hughes. You can see the picture here. Maybe you had already read the book, but you didn't know how is the face of Francisco Hughes. So I give you the photo here of Francisco Hughes, and this is his book, Cyber Pragmatics, Internet-Mediated Communication in Context, which is published in 2011. When we talk about cyber pragmatics, so we talk about how senders and addresses engage in an act of sense-making in cyber media. This is the definition by Hughes and also Merriam-Webster in 2013. And the special interest of cyber pragmatics analysis is the role of intentions and the quality. The role of intentions is in the point of view of the speaker, and the quality of interpretation from the point of view of the hearer when the internet mediated interactions take place, along with the implementation of ritual politeness. So actually, when we do the analysis about pragmatics, so it closely related to politeness. That's why pragmatics is a very relevant field in politeness research. Next, when we do the analysis in pragmatics, of course, we have to take into consideration about the context, and context is very important in pragmatics analysis. But somehow, cyber pragmatics has peculiarities. Cyber pragmatics context has peculiarities, which is a little bit different from the traditional pragmatics context. There is still several theories about cyber pragmatics context, and I try to present one of the theories from the pragmaticist and linguist from Indonesia, Dr. Kunjana Rahardi. He is Dr. Kunjana Rahardi. And he had already tried to explore about cyber pragmatics context and divide the cyber pragmatics context into social context, societal context, cultural context, and situational context. And the elements and functions of the context might shift and change so that the meaning of speech intentions in cyber pragmatics might also change. That's why here, this definition is a breakthrough of the cyber pragmatics context, but still needs some explorations because Dr. Kunjana Rahardi didn't explain in detail about the aspects of cyber pragmatics context, especially the external aspect. And the cognitive pragmatic interpretation and the virtual politeness are often influenced by the textual properties and the conventional attitude of the media, of course, because there are some types of internet media that we use, for instance, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Each medium of communication has their own characteristics that must be taken into consideration when we do the analysis of cyber pragmatics. And here is the aspects of context in cyber pragmatics that you have to take into consideration when you analyze the data in cyber pragmatics. First of all, we have to know, or we have to understand the intermediated conversations types. For instance, whether the data is taken from the chat rooms, internet mediated phone calls, or video conferencing, or 3D virtual worlds or avatar. So we have to know first, we have to understand the characteristics first before we start the analysis. And then the second things that we have to consider and we have to understand, of course, the occurrences and the propositional attitude, which is the main object of pragmatic analysis. And the external factors, this one that need more exploration in cyber pragmatics context, because the external factors is always change based on the development of the rapid information technology. For instance, the external factors include participants, types of internet media, conventional attitude, registers, conversational topics, and also virtual tokens. Virtual tokens is very, could be a lucrative object in cyber pragmatics research. Next, let's try to compare about the direct interaction and virtual interaction. In direct interaction, of course, we are free to expose our gestures and facial expressions. But in virtual interaction, we are lack of visual gestures and facial expressions. For instance, in this video conferencing, we only can show our face, but we cannot show all of our body language. So because of the limitation and the restrictions in the virtual media. And also in direct
ini dulu dimakan yuk. Enggak tapi. Ini nak.
Committee, could you mute the participants?
Apa?
So participants, please unmute. Sorry, please mute your microphone.
Well, okay, I would like to continue. In direct interaction, we could enable confirmation and minimize misinterpretation because we can explain something clearly. But in virtual interaction, there is potentially causing misinterpretation, especially if we use the textual virtual text textual data. And also in direct interaction, we could minimize audiovisual distraction, whereas in virtual interaction, of course, there is possibility of audiovisual distraction. And specifically in this presentation, I would like to give some examples of speech acts, but specifically I choose fatigue speech act. Fatigue speech act is a speech act which has the main intention to maintain social rapport. So it doesn't emphasize the specific message to transfer, but more about having or building social rapport between the members of the speech community. And this is the theory from Charles W. Kreidler. Charles W. Kreidler classifies some speech acts, and based on the definition, the fatigue utterances examples are, for instance, like greetings, ice breakings, farewells, and other polite formulas. And those are the common strategies in conducting fatigue talk to maintain social rapport. But in my current research, I found something which is different, the difference between the fatigue utterances or fatigue speech act in the Western culture and the Eastern culture. Because in Western culture, actually fatigue speech act is only for communication strategy. But for the Eastern culture, mostly the fatigue speech act is not only the communication strategy, but also the personal identity of the speech community itself. So I will explain about it later. Next, this is the politeness theory. I think if you are dealing with pragmatics and politeness research, so it's very familiar. The theory from Penelope Brown, this is Penelope Brown and Stephen Levinson, about positive politeness and negative politeness. I would like to give a brief introduction about those kinds of politeness. This is the definition of positive politeness in pragmatics field. Positive politeness and negative politeness here doesn't mean positive and negative in the literally meaning. Positive politeness means that the action or the effort of someone to appreciate other people. So this is what is called by a positive politeness. For instance, when we give compliments to other, and then when we show agreement, this is the example of positive politeness. So how we appreciate other, this is what is a brief definition of positive politeness. And negative politeness is such kind of politeness to minimize the imposition to other. For instance, when we want to when we want something from others, we have to do requests, because this is it could minimize the imposition to others. So in negative politeness, the main thing is that we have to give a freedom to other people to do what they want to do. That's why we have to minimize imposition whenever we want to restrict their freedom. And in Japanese, actually, Japanese also has a traditional politeness principles, which is defined by Asim Gunarwan and also Sutarsi here. So the Japanese principles of politeness are kurmat or respect, and then tepos liro or tolerance, andap asor or humility, and ampan papan or self-awareness, and also grapia or friendliness. Those politeness maxims here are not only a strategy of communication, but also the personal identity of Javanese. So in other words, you can say that Javanese is expected to have those characteristics to be admitted as members of Javanese community. Next, let us compare between the offline and online versus the online politeness. In offline, I had already explained before that in offline conversation or offline communication, so we are free to show or to perform our gestures and physical expression, but in an online, only virtual expressions. That's why there are some efforts to replace the gestures and physical expressions, which is by using some virtual tokens. And then there is also flexibility in topics adjustments and confirmations. For instance, it's very easy to switch the topic of conversation when we have an offline direct communication. But in an online, sometimes it's very we found difficulty in the topics adjustments, especially when we had already shared in a WhatsApp group, for instance. So everybody had already seen. So that's why it's stated there. And it's a little bit difficult to have a topics adjustment. And also in offline conversation or offline politeness, there is a flexibility in handling conflicts, because we could apologize directly, for instance. But in online politeness, of course, there is something difficulty in handling the conflicts. But if you talk about politeness, actually there is only one achievement: happiness. Happiness for all, happiness for the speaker, and also happiness for the hearer. So when we perform politeness, means that we have the intention to make somebody happy. That's the essential thing of politeness. Well, this is the examples taken from some of my research on politeness in the cyber pragmatics approach. This is the example of the data taken from the WhatsApp group. I would like to inform the context first, because in pragmatic analysis we have to be sure to give the information about the context as detailed as possible. This data is taken from the WhatsApp group, and the members of the WhatsApp group in this data are the graduate or the alumni of the university classmates. And one of the fatigue speech act, which is frequently occurred in internet-based communication, is greetings. Because greetings functions to open the conversation thread. That's why it occurs frequently. This is the example. I try to translate it. I wish everybody in this group always be healthy, and then other respondents answer amen, amen, amen. And this is the implementation of the Tepos Liro maxims or tolerance maxim. When the members support each other, means that they had already performed the Tepos Liro or tolerance maxim. And according to Brown and Levinson, the tolerance maxim or the Tepos Liro maxim belongs to the negative politeness strategy. Oh, sorry. Next example is congratulations. Congratulations is also one of the fatigue speech acts, which is frequently occurred in internet-based communication. And this is also taken from the WhatsApp group, but this is taken from the different WhatsApp group. This WhatsApp group, the members of this WhatsApp group are all Muslim females, Javanese Muslim female. So we can see the different token here. Let's compare to the previous token. Here, for instance, for greetings, usually greetings is the greetings could be a prayer like this. So that's why the token is praying hands token and folded hands token. But we can see the token is different in the context of when the speakers are all female. The tokens related to love is frequently occurred because I think the characteristic of women is different from men. I don't know whether there are men also use this token, but maybe they use for special purpose. For instance, when they talk to women, but when they man to man, I don't think they use those tokens frequently. This is what I call by external context in cyber pragmatics that we have to take into consideration when we analyze the data by using cyber pragmatics approach. The gender and then the context and the media will determine the virtual tokens which is used. The congratulations is also the implementation of Japanese maxims kurmat or respect, and also this is a part of the positive politeness strategy because we give appreciations to other. Usually when somebody has a good achievement, and also the happiness, so we can give these congratulations. Next, compliments. Compliments is uttered for the members to gain success and perform good things. And compliments is also the implementation of kurmat from the speaker to the, and andap asor is from the response from the hearer. I would like to give example about this speech act. The data is taken from the WhatsApp group of the university classmates. You can see here in Japanese traditional maxim, when somebody gives you compliments, we have to do this one, self-devaluation. So traditionally, Japanese should respond compliment by perform self-devaluation like this, or humility. How you doing, boss? You look greater now. You can see boss here, compliment for someone because this respondent has achieved a high rank in his job, and the other respondent try to respect him by calling him boss like this. But the response is this is not boss but boss. So this is kind of a self-devaluation. And giving the grinning face smiley, of course, to make the conversation seem so friendly like that. And let's compare to another response of compliments. What a beautiful voice you have. You are also good at playing guitar. And this respondent's response by thanking. Actually, in traditional Japanese maxim, compliment cannot be respond by thanking. But in the WhatsApp group, there is a politeness shift. Now, when somebody give compliments, people or Japanese also give response by thanking, which is violated maxims from the Japanese politeness maxim of andap asor or humility. And the next is condolences. Condolences, the function of condolences is expressing sympathy. And unfortunately, during this pandemic, especially nowadays, I found there are lots of condolences in WhatsApp group because of so many victims of COVID-19. And this is the condolences from speaker who are Muslims. That's why she gives a prayer by using praying hands also as a token, virtual token. And usually the condolences is responded by amen, like this. And condolences is also the implementation of tolerance maxim and type of positive politeness strategies. And next, supports. The function of support is giving attention. During this pandemic, there are also lots of supports occur in WhatsApp group, because people try to support each other to face this pandemic. For instance, these respondents inform the other members that she and her family are confirmed positive of COVID-19, and the other members respond by giving support to her. Giving supports is the implementation of the maxims of tolerance and also part of the negative politeness strategy. And the last is jokes. Jokes occurs in a WhatsApp group to make or to perform the maxim of grapya, or being friendly. Actually, this data is greetings, but the greetings is performed by using joke. But I'm so sorry for the expert of translations here. Maybe my translation is not correct, because it's very difficult to translate joke actually, especially if the joke is related to certain culture. Maybe the expert of translation, Dr. Aji, Dr. Syed, will give informations more about this later. I would like to read the example here. Burung merpati, burung unta, it's a pun. Burung merpati, burung unta, selamat pagi, sugeng bekerja, guys. Okay, good morning, happy working, guys. Actually, this is a great thing like this, but they try to make it, to perform the greetings by pun. And then the response is the joke. The joke is coming from the response actually, because he responds the speaker by saying, you had already played with the bird early morning. And the speaker give response again, yes, because the bird was escaped, like that. And posting a joke in a WhatsApp group is an effort of being friendly or grapya, and also part of the implementation of negative politeness. And one thing for sure, when we discuss about cyber pragmatics research, of course, we have to take into our consideration about the alternations of elements of pragmatics context. For instance, types of media, development of chat attributes, emoticons, smileys, stickers, GIF, because smileys here would have different meaning whenever it is performed by different speaker. For instance, the love smiley between the speakers with the same gender, for instance, female to female, it will be okay. But from male to female, it's possible to have other meaning. It's not only showing friendliness or camaraderie, but maybe expressing the love, for instance. And we also have to take into consideration about the various stimulant of creating chats. What is the stimulant of creating chats? Some of the netizens create chats by because they want to show off or being narcissistic. This is a very common illusionary acts or intention to create the chats and seeking attentions, making friends, or networking. And those are also, we can take into our consideration about the types of speech act occurred in the internet-based communication. For instance, the assertive, directives, commissive, expressive, or emphatic. And implementation of virtual politeness, whether this is a societal politeness. Social is a horizontal relation, societal is vertical. Whenever there is a different social status, so it would be societal politeness. And cultural politeness, norms, and also virtual conventions. And for the conclusion, the types of fatigue talks in Japanese IBC which I found is greetings, congratulations, compliments, condolences, supports, and jokes. But maybe the further research will find another types of emphatic speech acts here. And greetings were the most frequently found in the data since the function was starting the conversation. On the contrary, condolences were the, but here I think the data had already changed, because now I found so many data of condolences in the internet-based communication. And the implementation of politeness maxims in the emphatic talks of Japanese WhatsApp group is an effort in establishing virtual social rapport. And the virtual tokens attached to the virtual text is a peculiar politeness strategy in cyber pragmatics. And actually, the function of the virtual tokens here, or the smiley, emoticons, stickers. Now stickers are very famous. Lots of people use stickers because stickers is more lively. And the functions of the virtual tokens is to intensify or to emphasize the intention of the message. And the tokens are utilized also to express the social bond, to replace the physical gestures because of the limitation of the virtual media. And the capability in utilizing virtual tokens such as smileys, stickers, and GIF appropriately is part of politeness itself. You have speaker will be very careful in performing the virtual tokens, because the improper use of virtual tokens is considered as face-threatening act that potentially causes a conflict. And the effectiveness of the virtual tokens to replace physical context would be a lucrative object for further research on virtual politeness. Thank you very much for listening to my presentations. And last but not least, I'd like to ask all of you to prioritize national language, preserve regional dialect, and to master foreign language. Thank you very much. Well, moderator, that's all my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yuli Widyana. Please give her an online applause for a very insightful material that she has been sharing with all of us. I always being so inspired by the way she do everything passionately, especially in doing her research. This is actually part of her doctoral thesis, right, Dr. Yuli?
Yes, that's right.
She is our first doctor in pragmatics, and all of the participants could ask everything to her dealing with the pragmatics, with the cyber pragmatics, with emphatic utterance, and especially this is very different and special to Japanese politeness. You could ask her everything later, okay? Keep it for the question and answer session.
Hopefully I could answer.
Okay, of course you could. Now, we would like to welcome our second speaker, Dr. SYED NURULAKTA bin SYED ABDULLAH. But first, I would like to read her brief career history. Dr. SYED NURULAKTA SYED ABDULLAH is a senior lecturer in the Department of Foreign Languages, Faculty of Modern Languages and Communication, University PUTRA Malaysia, or UPM. His research areas cover Arabic classical translation, technical translation, and translation training. His translation on a book by Bell, Translating and Translating, Theory and Practice in 1991, together with Zubaidah Ibrahim, titled Terjemahan Produk dan Proses, was published by Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka in 2012. He is also the translator of Rihlah Ibnu Battuta into Malay, titled Pengembaraan Ibnu Battuta, Pengembara Agung, Karya Terulung, Menyingkap Wajah Dunia, published by the Institute Kefahaman Islam Malaysia in 2003. Besides Arabic and Islamic texts, he is also active in translating technical and financial texts. This is reflected in his translation of the GTP and ETP annual reports from 2010 till 2018 for Pemandu under the Prime Minister's Department or GPM, as well as the highly illustrated book Bank Negara Malaysia, Bulwark of the Nation 1959 till 2017 into Malay titled Bank Negara Malaysia Tonggak Pertiwi 1959 sampai 2017, published by the Central Bank in 2018. Currently, he is helping Pemandu Associates in the translation of the 12 Malaysia Plan into Malay, RMK 12, at UPM. And at UPM, he is strengthening the faculty in translation teaching and research, as well as postgraduate studies in the field of translation. Now we're going to hear the explanation of his research on the impact of euphemistic translation on basic trilateral verbs in Quranic translations. The next 30 minutes is yours, Dr. Syed.
Thank you very much, our chairperson, for the very warm welcome. I would like to thank also Ibu Maya and in the beginning for welcoming us, the speakers. I would like to thank also my colleague, Dr. Yuli WIDYANA, and also Dr. DWI Aji. I am very impressed with Dr. Yuli presentation just now. It's so engaging, and I obtain brilliant insights also from her presentation. Okay, I would like to thank also English study program, Faculty of Communication Sciences, WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University MADIUN campus for this special invitation. Okay, dear participants, lecturers, I would like to begin my presentation. Okay, the title of my presentation is Impact of Euphemistic Translations on Basic Trilateral Verbs in Quranic Translations. Euphemism is a form of language that is used to replace language that is harsh, disrespectful, insulting, or hurtful, so that the language is more gentle, refined, and polite. For example, in the understanding of sadness, accidents, losses, and so on. Siti Nurashike Muhammad Khalidi 2017. Like being explained by Dr. Yuli just now, very clear. In fact, euphemism is also defined as, what's the, oh dear. Why is this red pen?
Close first, stop first the screen share, sharing screen, then reopen it. To all participants, please please not to do anything which could.
Okay.
Okay.
Let us continue. In fact, euphemism is also defined as gentle and polite phrases that are used to replace original phrases that are unpleasant and harmful. In Arabic, euphemism is known as tahsinul alfaz, which means refinement of words. Based on the above definitions, euphemism is better understood to phonology and semantics in the language. Okay. In the Malay language, euphemism is not only applied in verbal communication, but also in the field of writing, such as in novels, poetry, short stories, translations, etc. This is because writing has become one of the main platforms to disseminate information and ideas that have to be emphasized in language etiquette, as it is a symbol of the civilization of the language user. This is applicable to religious texts, for example, Quranic text translations that contain language politeness ethics, among them the use of euphemism. Verbs are vital words in the formation or constructions of phrasal verbs. Nik Safia Karim, 1997. In order to produce translations of high quality, translators need to master and understand the meaning of the verbs in the source language. However, the results of our literature review show that there are various challenges and issues that arise during translations. These challenges include finding suitable matching words tied to meanings in dictionaries and various translation approaches. In addition, translators need to have a deeper understanding not only of the culture, but also of the language that are significant in the translation process, especially in the vocabulary of two languages, namely the source language and target language, so that the message in a text can be successfully and correctly delivered. Okay, the objective of my study is to identify the impact of euphemistic translation on basic trilateral verbs in the Quranic text entitled Al-Quran Terjemahan Al-Ghufran dengan Panduan Wakaf dan Ibtidak, published by Telaga Biru. It's one of our publishers in Malaysia. My research problem: cultural issues in euphemistic translation. Cultural issues are the main trigger of this euphemistic phenomenon. This happens when there are differences in the way of life and norms of a particular are difficult to match with suitable Arabic euphemism, especially those related to the physical parts of the body. In Indonesia, words such as penis, clitoris, or even intercourse that have been adapted from the West are taboo words. The same goes for the word ciuman, kiss, that has been adapted from the Dutch word son. I don't know whether might be Dr. Yuli can explain better this one. Okay, usage of such words can cause frequent problems in police reports by rape victims or health reports that require precise descriptions without distorting the actual meaning. However, this cannot be applied in newspapers, novels, and short stories that represent common publications for the general public, UNSAF 2006. The above issue can give rise to uneasiness and discomfort among readers because of socio-cultural differences regarding politeness when discussing such taboo elements. I think also not achieving the happiness, the ultimate aim as being described by Dr. Yuli just now. Gender issues and euphemistic translation. The use of euphemism in addressing gender differences is strongly emphasized, whether in verbal or written form, irrespective of the type of text or genre. This is because there are many phrases and words that refer to men and women, especially about parts of the body, the genitals, and certain diseases that require the use of the euphemistic element to avoid embarrassment or awkwardness among listeners or readers. In Malay culture, menstruation or haid issues among women are a sensitive topic and taboo, which can be regarded as disrespectful unless courteous and more refined words are used. This is because the word menstruation or haid does not observe socio-linguistic rules of Malay society, as the expression is regarded boleh mengandung, and widow, janda with single mother, ibu tunggal, which all sound more personal, maintain politeness, and are not offensive to Malays. The feelings and emotions of a person have great influence on the ambiguity and change in meaning of a word. This happens when the person is sad and becomes easily offended, which can cause misunderstandings with other people. Such feelings frequently happen when the person receives news concerning death, business losses, accidents, and other things. Like what we are facing now during the pandemic. An example is the expression pass away, meninggal dunia, which means die, mati. Basically, to pass away, meninggal dunia contains the element of metaphor because of the existence of a direct metaphor of what has been said, which is about death. The euphemistic element that is in the expression pass away, meninggal dunia, is able to hide the negativity that is brought about by the true meaning of the said expression. This expression actually shows politeness of language even when these words are normally refined. True expression the afterlife, pergi ke alam baka, return to God, kembali ke rahmatullah, answering the divine's call, menyahut seruan ilahi, took his last breath, menghembuskan nafas terakhir, lost his life, hilang hayat, lost his soul, hilang jiwa, and return to earth, berkalang tanah. Tezahura Bahasa Melayu Dewan, edisi baru 2008. Okay, the methodology of this study employs the qualitative approach through the method of textual analysis. Textual analysis was used because it is recognized by experts of qualitative research. Okay, I would like to quote Silverman here, 2010. Why textual analysis? First, richness. Close analysis of written text reveals subtleties and presentational skills. Second, relevance and effect. Text influence our views of the world and its people as well as how we act. And third, naturally occurring text document what participants are actually doing in the world without being dependent on being asked by researchers. And for availability, texts are usually readily accessible and not always dependent on access or ethical constraints. As they may be quickly gathered, they encourage us to begin early data analysis. Okay, in order to translate something with the euphemistic element, the researchers of translation introduced a variety of models and approaches. However, this study is more inclined to utilize the euphemistic translation model by Unseth, 2006. According to Unseth, euphemistic translation is divided into 4 categories, namely literal translation, use of simple language, choice of synonyms in the target language, and fourth, the contextual translation. Okay, first, literal translation. This occurs when both the source and target text have similar euphemistic meanings. The translator can translate literally, and this translation is the simplest approach. For example, in Spanish society, mention of that is by the use of the term pasa and mayor vida. That means to pass on to a better life in English. Literal translation is applied because the Spanish people understand and have accepted this euphemistic phrase. Second, use of simple language. This depends on the intention and message that is to be conveyed by the original writer to the target readers. For example, police report documents on rape victims should use simple language so that they are better understood. However, if the original message is shameful or might embarrass the victim, if reported in the news, the best approach would be not to use simple language. The use of simple language requires the translator to be sensitive and aware of the emotions of the individual in the context of the sentence. C, choice of synonyms in the target language. This occurs when there is no true meaning of the word that contains the euphemistic element in the target language. Translators can choose words that have the same meaning as the original text. And Seth provides an example of euphemism related to pregnant woman in the English phrase, she is in the family way. If this euphemistic phrase is translated to Spanish, it will be está esperando. That means she's waiting, or dia sedang menunggu in the Malay language. The use of phrases is different, but the meaning is similar. Thus, the choice of word is very significant, so the interaction is friendly and polite. The contextual translation. This is when the actual meaning is back in the target language. In order to maintain the original message, translators would need to add words or phrases to explain and clarify the actual meaning to the target readers. For example, if we translate the phrase far from the holiday crowd relating to the character of Jack in the novel The Great Train Robbery that uses the euphemistic element, it will mean that he intends to leave the hustle and bustle of the city to seek peace and solace. Okay, this is the most interesting part, the result analysis. The impact of translation in the form of euphemism can be explained in the following diagram. Impact of euphemistic translation in basic trilateral verbs with lexical gaps in Quranic messages. First, preservation of Arabic euphemistic elements in the Malay language. Second, avoidance of Arabic euphemistic elements in the Malay language. Third, translation of Arabic taboo lexical items by way of euphemism into the Malay language. Okay, this is the list of the trilateral verbs that we analyzed, and we came to we arrive to this analysis. There are more preservation of euphemistic elements compared to avoidance of euphemistic elements. And we found only one translation of Arabic taboo lexical items in the form of euphemism. The English translation just for those who would not understand the Malay language. The verb abasa in ayat 1 surah Abasa relates the incident when Prophet, peace be upon him, was having a discussion with the Quraysh dignitary to convince him to convert to Islam. During the discussion, Ibn Maktum dropped by and asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, a pressing question. However, the Prophet, peace be upon him, did not like the interruption by Ibn Maktum and wanted to silence him, as the Prophet was interested in helping this guest from Quraysh to obtain guidance. The Prophet began to sulk and turned his face away from Ibn Maktum, continuing to only attend to the dignitary. Allah the Almighty then revealed this verse to the Prophet. The dictionary meaning of the word abasa is to frown, berkerut muka. Kamus Besar Arab Melayu 2006. Translation Quran Al-Ghufran translates it as sour face, berwajah masam, by using a word choice of similar meaning in the context of the Malay language. This is such because this data is connected to the individual's emotional aspect. Hence, translations need to be gentler and cautious without offending target readers. According to the Malay language experts consulted in this research, the choice of the word sour face, berwajah motions. However, to frown, berkerut muka, which is the meaning given by Kamus Besar Arab Melayu 2006, is not necessarily showing the angry emotion. Thus, the basic trilateral verb abasa still maintains the Arabic euphemistic element in the Malay language to convey Quranic messages effectively in the target language. Second, the aspect of woman. Wallahi ya'isna minal mahid, dan perempuan-perempuan yang putus haid. The verb ya'is in verse 4 Surah At-Talaq relates to period, idah, for women who are not menstruating anymore due to advancing age. It provides 3 months as replacement of 3 periods of purity after menses, or we say in Malay, 3 kali suci. As has been said for women who are menstruating. From the dictionary meaning, the verb ya'is originally brings about the meaning of to give up hope, putus asa. While translation Quran Ghufran only uses the word give up, putus. Research findings show that TQG uses simple language that can be understood by the target readers. This happens when the meaning of Quranic verbs project differences in denotative meanings between the source language and the target language. The reason this comes about is because to give up hope, putus asa, and give up, putus, in the context of the Malay language show different conceptual meanings. To give up hope, putus asa, means jurisprudence, which are menstruation issues that are sensitive when discussed openly because such discussions bring about embarrassment and uneasiness among women. Thus, the basic triliteral verb ya'is still preserves the Arabic euphemistic element in the Malay language in conveying effective Quranic messages in the target language. Okay, the second theme in diagram 1.3 describes how the avoidance of Arabic euphemistic elements in the Malay language occur when Arabic euphemistic elements are not translated euphemistically in the Malay language. This occurs due to differences in euphemistic elements between the culture of the Arabic society and the Malay society. Okay, in this theme, we choose 2, qaraba and rafasa. Faman farada fihinna al-hajja fala rafasa wala fusuqa wala jidal fil hajj. We are in the season of hajj. Sesiapa yang telah mewajibkan dirinya dengan niat mengerjakan ibadah haji itu, maka jangan bersetubuh, jangan berbuat maksiat. From the dictionary meaning, this verb means talk dirty, bercakap kotor. Kamus Besar Arab Melayu. However, TQG translate the verb rafas as copulate, bersetubuh, to explain the original source text message without eliminating or making ambiguous phrasal meanings in the translation of Quranic text to the Malay language. From the aspect of euphemism, TQG is inclined to use contextual translation to align the true meaning with the context of the sentence. The word copulate, bersetubuh, that is used in TQG is not sensitive towards the culture of the Malay society, as the phrase is considered taboo and sensitive to be discussed openly. So this is a in Arabic euphemistic, but the Malay is not euphemistic. According to the Malay language experts consulted in this research, the words to have sex, berjima, copulate, bersetubuh, and performing sexual relations, melakukan hubungan seks, are obscene words, whether used verbally or in writing, especially in literature that is produced for the reading pleasure of the people, such as the Quran. Like Dr. Yuli said, happiness. I will remember that for forever. Very good point. Hence, this subject can cause discomfort and awkwardness. And this is not happy because the word is impolite to be heard by target readers. Basically, the lexical item Rafas has disregarded Arabic euphemistic elements in the Malay language. So, you know, with these insights, we still have rooms to improve our Malay translations of the Quran. With this kind of studies. The third and last theme in diagram 1.3 is the translation of Arabic taboo lexical items, way of euphemism in the Malay language. It was discovered in this research that there is an example of a basic trilateral Quranic verb in which the Arabic taboo lexical item has been translated in the euphemistic form in the Malay language. Okay, this is the verse. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa yahfazu furujahum, dan memelihara kehormatan mereka. So our data here is memelihara. The verb hafizah in Surah An-Nur ayat 30 narrates that Allah Almighty's command addressed to his believers that they divert their attention from forbidden things. The dictionary meaning of the verb hafizah is to take care, menjaga. Kamus Besar Arab Melayu. However, from the context, the scholars of Quranic exegesis, ulama tafsir, have agreed unanimously that the verb hafizah means to preserve, memelihara, according to the literature in TQG. In the context of the Malay language, to take care, menjaga, means to nurture, membela, to control, mengawal, and to look out, mengawasi. The meaning preserve, memelihara, is to protect from danger, melindungi daripada bahaya. The verb hafazah needs to be seen in the context as the entire Quranic sentence because it concerns sexual organs, namely furujahum, which means their genitals, kemaluan mereka in Arabic, and which is a taboo element in Malay culture. TQG has resorted significantly to contextual translation by translating the verb as and preserve their honor dan memelihara kehormatan mereka. This shows that cultural factor causes the euphemistic factor. And the contextual translation seems to be the best solution to bridge the cultural gap that exists between between two languages. This is a very good translation. Dan memelihara, we don't say dan menjaga. Therefore, in order to maintain language politeness when conveying the message of the Quranic text, TQG generally prefers to use words that preserve honor, memelihara kehormatan, rather than taking care of private parts, menjaga kemaluan, which is the original meaning of the source text according to the dictionary. It is clear that lexical items have to be looked into not only from the semantic aspect but also from the pragmatic aspect. This is very relevant to our webinar today. Thus, the phrase hafazu furujahum is a euphemistically translated Arabic taboo form in the Malay language. It's taboo in Arabic, but we translate it euphemistically into Malay. That's where you say comparing to two different languages like this is very interesting, and I would like to encourage more students in masters or PhD or doctor or PhD to conduct studies like this. Conclusion. In conclusion, this research on euphemism in translation of the holy text has discovered that research focusing on the Arabic-Malay domain is very rare. As a result, there are various interesting gaps to be explored and researched. Based on the summary and implications of the research in this study, it is recommended that more research be carried out on euphemism in the translation of the Holy Book. Although research has been widely carried out by international scholars, research that focuses on the Arabic-Malay domain is rare. It's still very little. Such research is interesting because the outcome will provide a positive influence on inculcating good moral values and politeness in literature, especially in the translation of holy texts. In addition, it will be very interesting for research to be carried out in future that focuses on euphemistic translation approaches in the translation of the hadith of the Prophet. This we have not done quite a lot. Arabic, Malay especially. And that breaks down the impact of the effectiveness in employing those approaches. The findings of this research will be able to provide new insights into and perspectives on the translation of the hadith in the Arabic Malay domain, as well as to highlight euphemistic elements and politeness in the translations of the hadith of the Prophet. So this is my suggestion. Okay, I would like to thank my university for granting me the grant to carry out this research. And this ends my presentation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Syed, for the sharing. It's really insightful for all of us. It's a new thing for me since I am interested in translation too, but Indonesian English translation, vice versa. And today we are hearing you talking about Arabic Malay and Arabic English translation. It's really, really interesting. For all the participants who has the same interest with Dr. Syed, especially in Arab English translation, vice versa, in the Holy Book translation, and also on the euphemistic translation, it would be really interesting to share and to exchange ideas here in this webinar. Thank you very much, Dr. Syed.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to hear the presentation of our third speaker, Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO M.Hum, but before that, I would like to read her curriculum vitae. Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO M.Hum is now a lecturer in Program Studi Bahasa Inggris, Fakultas Ilmu Komunikasi, the Faculty of Communication Sciences, Catholic J. Gatsby, and then he got his master degree in Applied Linguistics from the Universitas Atmajaya Jakarta in 2000 under the thesis Fidelity in the Translation of Pauline Metaphor. And lately he got his doctoral degree in linguistics with interest in translation studies from Universitas 11 Maret in 2019 under the dissertation Kajian Terjemahan Ungkapan Metafora Konseptual tentang Impian Amerika dalam The Great Gatsby berdasarkan teori relevansi. He is now working as a senior lecturer in English Language Study Program, Faculty of Communication Sciences, WIDYA Mandala Surabaya Catholic University, MADIUN campus. And the last 5-year publications was on the translator's viewpoint studies. And then in 2018, the optimal relevance of American Dream Metaphor translation is being published in Advance in Social Sciences, Education and Humanity Research. It's a journal. And then in 2020, his writing on Expressed in Metaphor and Translated into Metaphor is published in Humanities and Social Sciences Reviews. It's in the publication process. And then, last of all, in 2020, he published The Dominance of Established Equivalent in the Metaphor Translation. It is published or it is presented on the first International Conference on Communication Language, Literature, and Culture in 2020. Now we're going to welcome Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO with his speech on considering politeness in translation. The next 30 minutes is yours, Dr. Aji. Dr. Aji, please unmute your microphone. We could not hear you yet. Okay.
Can you see my writing here?
Yes, it's okay now. You could start your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Moderator, Ms. Priska, and thank you very much also for the other presenters who are very inspiring.
Sir, not yet.
Yeah, that's the problem. There is host disable participant screen sharing. I would like to screen sharing.
Please try again, sir. We have no internet.
Okay, is that clear now? Okay, I would like to present, the title is Considering Politeness in Translation. This is my name. Okay, let's see. I would like to start with the definition of politeness. This is a little bit different from the definition of pragmatic because it is literal. Politeness here, just the practical application of acceptable or good manners or etiquette in order not to offend others. Translation problem. Cultural difference in politeness can cause translation problems. Accordingly, the objective is tracing the expression dissimilarities in the light of translation studies and the application on wrong English-Indonesian translation and vice versa. If there is any other language, I just use it in order to make some clarification. Methodologically, data were collected by document analysis, differentiated from the others that were not done based on the concept of politeness, compare among data and taxonomized. That is because we talk about translation studies, we cannot be separated from its ideology. Politeness here belongs to domestication. Politeness in translation ideology belongs to domestication. Domestication here is target language orientation translation ideology. Let's see to make you remember about translation ideology. Translation ideology here means principles or beliefs about right or wrong translation. Foreignization, source language orientation translation is right if fully containing the source text message. Domestication, target language orientation translation. Translation is right if in accordance with the rules, norms, and cultures of the target language. So we are if you consider politeness and translation, this belongs to domestic use. Yeah. Now, after we talk about ideology, we talk about the methods in translation. Politeness in translation belongs to right side methods in V diagram. These diagrams on the right side is target language orientation translation method. Let's see. Yeah, before talking about the diagram, let's see the translation method here. The way the translation process is carried out in relation to the purpose or ideology of the translation. So it is in a macro level. It's different from the techniques that is in micro level. This is in macro level. Let's see here. I think everybody is familiar with this type. On the left side, word forward translation, literal translation, literal translation, and semantic. This is these are all source language emphasis. And on the right hand side, adaptation, translation, idiomatic translation, and communicative translation all belong to target language orientation translation. Okay. Now the next is after talking about ideology and also methods, we talk about the next, namely about translation techniques. Politeness here is part of target language orientation translation techniques. Let's see here. Okay, translation techniques and micro level. Procedures to analyze and classify how translation equivalence works. So if we talk about equivalence, we talk about techniques. Okay. All right. Let's see the next. In a group of target language orientation techniques, there are some here. I have mentioned here. Adaptation, addition, deletion, discursive cohesion, explicitation, establish equivalence, generalization, implicitation, modulation, specification, transposition, variation, etc. And source language orientation techniques like literal, translation, gap, pure borrowing, natural borrowing, etc. Okay. And here, politeness in target language orientation techniques. Nevertheless, not all of them are used. Now, let's see, let's discuss a little bit. Let's see here. We use deletion to have some equivalence. In this case, is you look cool in that jacket, and it must be expensive, can be deleted or must be deleted. Let's see the rationale for that. Yeah. Price is a part of complement in Indonesian, but it is not in English. In this case, harganya pasti mahal can be deleted in the translation since the previous clause is already complement. And remember that price that is never part of complement is a bit weird in English. That's why it is not necessary. Okay. Next. Also about deletion, because there are a lot of data about things that can be classified as a little bit redundant in Indonesian. Let's see here. Deletion. Source language. You are wasting everyone's time. Either read the fucking instruction or get the hell out. Atau keluar dari forum kami. Let's see my argument. The words hell and fucking are often used in English. The words may be equivalent to Jancuk in Surabaya dialect. I'm sorry to say that. The Indonesian word sialan that is similar has low frequency of use. And fortunately, the previous expression here is rude enough. That's why deletion is recommended. Okay, I would like to say it once again. Deletion is recommended since the expression is rude enough without translating the word hell in fucking. Modulation. After finishing her PhD, she will marry Dick. The translation is setelah menyelesaikan doktornya, Sue akan menikahi Dick. Recommendation here. Setelah menyelesaikan doktornya, Sue akan menikah dengan Dick. How come? Let's see. A man can marry a woman and vice versa in English. A man can marry a woman too in Indonesia, but not the other way around. In this case, Sue akan menikah dengan Dick is better than Sue akan menikahi Dick. The word dengan changes a man berkali. Recommendation sudah cukup, boy. Silakan pergi. Yeah. My door is wide open in English is similar to pintu selalu terbuka untukku in Indonesia, meaning that you must feel free to talk to me. The problem is that Indonesian expression is not used in sarcasm, whose meaning is the opposite. That's why explicitation is recommended. You must say it directly without using sarcasm because it can be misunderstood by others, by readers. Okay. It is also about explicitation. I don't understand what you mean. Please speak English. This is a kind of interruption to speaker speaking English very well. The translation, saya tidak mengerti yang Anda maksudkan. Tolong bicara bahasa Inggris. Alright, recommendation. Tolong bicara bahasa Inggris can be converted into tolong bicara lebih sederhana. Where's that? Let's see. Irony is widely used in both English and Indonesian, but this one is only in English. Asking to speak English to someone speaking English means asking him to explain in a simple way. Accordingly, making the expression explicit, namely tolong bicara lebih sebentar, is recommended. Okay? Next. Specification. Yeah. There's a conversation between father and son. Terus ayah says, siapa lawanmu di WIDYANA? Dini ya, juara bertahan. And then ayah says, jangan kalah dengan perempuan. Target language, who's your opponent in the final, sir? Dini, Dad, defending champion. And then this is my focus. Don't lose to a girl. Recommendation: don't say don't lose to a girl, but say don't lose to the girl. Even though it is translated from jangan kalah dengan perempuan, that is individual, right? Let's see our arguments. Okay, due to his ignorance, the father motivates his son with the words that might offend feminists. Therefore, the translation of perempuan is not general term. Yeah. Once again, therefore, the translation of perempuan is not the general term a girl, but more specific term. Yeah. But more specific term. Sorry. But more specific term, namely the girl. Yeah. It is not only a kind of transposition from a definite, from indefinite article to definite article. It is not as simple as that. It is a kind of specification, but actually it is also a kind of modulation because of what? Because it has something to do with what is it? Point of view. It is the change of point of view. So modulation is also good to classify this kind of translation. But in this case, I would like to say that this specification is recommended as it discusses any offense against a girl. I mean, feminists will not be happy to hear about a girl that was born loser, right? Of course, if you're a feminist, right? Okay. Even though Bible has already undergone a lot of experiences in translating the Bible into many languages, thousands of languages in all around the world, nevertheless, there are some expressions that must be corrected. Okay, let's see here. And Judah saw there a daughter of certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in unto her. This from King James Version, Genesis 38, okay, verse 2. And here, terjemahan baru, it is a Bible or Alkitab in Indonesia, in Indonesian language. Yehuda, let's see the underline words only. Yehuda kawin dengan perempuan itu dan mengakhirinya. Okay, my recommendation. Yehuda kawin dengan perempuan itu. Okay, let's see my arguments. Sorry. The expression took her and went in unto her means married her and made love to her. The meaning of kawin dengan perempuan itu really implies the weed euphemism, menghampirinya. Menghampirinya is a term that is strange, right? It is weird. Okay, so in my opinion, implicitation is recommended, meaning that kawin dengan perempuan itu also implies made love to her, right? Okay. Right. Oh, we come to the conclusion because we will be happy to have some discussion later. The study so that most of them were not translated by considering that politeness in some cases were bound with time and space. Space, meaning that culturally fun because of the place, right? And time, and sometimes a thing that is polite in one time, I mean now, can be impolite in the future because of uh, the time changes, right? Okay, recommendation was given on the basis of pragmatic equivalence because we talk about technique data so that
We have to choose the right or the most appropriate techniques and also dealing with the culture and everything. So for those who are very interested in translation, especially translation ideology, translation method, translation techniques, Dr. DWI AJI Prajoko is the master of it. And also Dr. SYED, you could ask our two speakers about translation and about pragmatics. You could ask Dr. YULI, and we could discuss and dig deeper on both topic areas. Now, thank you very much, all of the speakers who have already delivered the materials and also the presentations are really nice. Now we're going to have the question and answer session. We have about 50 minutes for the question and answer session. The chat box is open already. And all of the participants who have already prepared the question could ask the question, could type the question on the chat box, and I will read it for the speaker. Well, the first question has been delivered by Ani Mariama. Good morning, I am Ani Mariama from Universitas Sriwijaya. I want to ask Dr. Yuli, what is a good student politeness strategy in asynchronous online discussion? Dr. Yuli could answer directly.
Okay, thank you very much for the question to Ani Mariama. I think the politeness between in the formal situation like classrooms or a formal Zoom meeting for online class is very important and also a very lucrative object of research nowadays. I try to answer the question, what is a good student politeness strategy in asynchronous online discussion? First of all, I think we have to, using the microphone on your Zoom meeting, for instance, you have to say your name, especially if it is a big class and everyone do not know each other. So please mention your name first, and then it's a kind of the implementation of the respect. You have to respect people. Introducing ourselves means that you respect people to know ourselves, because it's a little bit weird if we don't know who speak to whom like that. And of course, besides that, you have to give, for instance, for the discussion, you have to give questions or opinion which is relevant to the topics of the discussion at that time. Because when you deliver the topics which is not relevant, it will cause a conflict, or also you tend to perform what is called in pragmatics, we call it a FTA, a face threatening act, means that you can insult people, and also it will disturb people because of the irrelevant questions, for instance. And saying thank you or thanking is also a kind of the performance of politeness in an online discussion. I think that's my answer about your questions. But still, actually, we need to explore more about this, about the politeness in formal politeness. Thank you. I think that's all, moderator.
Okay, well, it's actually what we deal with in today's situation, because we are dealing with the digital era. Everyone, especially in educational field, we have to do the internet-based communication, and politeness is a real thing to be discussed here. Now, thank you very much, Dr. Yuli, for the explanation. Now we are having the second question from Riza Ardiati. Thank you for sharing the great knowledge. It's useful for me. I'm Riza. Informality in a pragmatic perspective is due to the influence of Western culture and Eastern culture in communication manner.
Okay, me again?
Okay.
Well, okay. Hi, Riza from Pajajaran University. I am also a graduate of Pajajaran University for my master degree. Nice to see you. Hello, Bandung. Bandung is still struggling for pandemic also, right? Well, thank you for the question, Riza Lupi from Universitas Pajajaran. I think the basic difference between politeness, deference, respect, and formality in a pragmatic perspective is you have to, first of all, you have to understand first, you have to comprehend the difference of politeness in the point of view of social linguistics and the point of view of politeness in the point of view of pragmatics, because it's different. Usually, deference belongs to the field of social linguistics, but in pragmatics, I tend to use the term respect here. So we have to perform respect to our hearer, and of course the respect would be different based on who speak to whom. Okay, and of course, in this interaction, culture will influence how you communicate. It's because, for instance, in Western and Eastern culture, there is differences. Actually, the differences is not only in the oral communication, but also body language, and also in the Middle Eastern also it will be different. For instance, in Western culture, when we speak to people, we have to we have to see our hearer straight to the eyes. This is formal in Western culture, but Eastern culture, especially Japanese, is not like that. Especially if the conversations or the interaction happen between the different gender, it is not a must to see our hearer directly like that. That's the body language, and of course and the utterances also would be different. We have to pay attention what kind of context that we are involved in. For instance, in a formal context, we have to choose the way we talk, use the formal languages, and actually jokes is still allowed in a formal situation, but of course the joke that could include the joke that could be understood by all of the participants, because sometimes people do not pay attention. They think the joke is funny, but funny only for certain culture, but not funny in other culture. For instance, in this international webinar, when we want to perform the joke, we have to be careful. The joke must be cover all of the participants, or in other words, we have to say, we have to utter something that could be understood by all of the participants. This is the kind of respect. If you respect your hearer, you have to involve them in your conversations, not exclude them. So if you involve them in your conversation, means that you give them happiness, because they will be very happy if they think they are involved in the conversation like that. And as I had already explained in my presentation before, that politeness maxims in Western culture and politeness maxims in Eastern culture would be different. In Western culture, usually politeness strategies is only for communication strategies. For instance, to open the conversation, to make the conversations running well, and to end the conversation politely. But in Eastern culture, Chinese and also Japanese, so performing politeness means that you perform your personality or your characteristics, like that. So in a Japanese context and also in Chinese context, they have the concept of mianche. Mian means face. Yeah, face means our dignity, our self-respect. For instance, that must be taken into consideration when you perform something in a conversation or communication. So politeness in Eastern culture is more specific and also is very essential because it will represent your personality. I think that's all.
Okay, then that's all for Dr. Yuli, because we still have another question for you. Young learners' inability to acquire the language.
Well, okay, I think this is what is called by pragmatic failure or gagal pragmatic, because so in pragmatics we have three phases: the locutionary, illocutionary, and perlocutionary. Locutionary means the utterances or the sentences that we say, and then illocutionary is the intention of the speaker to say something, and perlocutionary is the response or the act of the hearer towards the utterances from the speaker. So this process is maybe because the speaker and the hearer do not comprehend, do not really understand the sentences or the terms that the teacher use when they teach something. So that's why the teacher and the teacher, when the teacher teaches something, they have to take into consideration about the students' competence, and also common ground, whether the students had already understood about the topics. If, for instance, in this webinar, I also try to explain something which could be understood by all participants, because if I talk about things which is only not achieved, because the hearer did not comprehend the locution or the sentences or the utterance from the teacher. And this is also one of the analysis of pragmatics, I think. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's maybe because you are delivering your presentation really engaging, what Dr. Syed said before. So there are so many questions from the participants. Now we're going to, I'm going to read the next question from Iqbal. Yeah, I think it's in the field of translation.
Yeah, translation. I try to answer, but after this, maybe Dr. Syed and Dr. Aji could explain more, because I'm not an expert of translation. Okay, but when we talk about pragmatics and translation, of course there will be some translations needs pragmatics approach. I think Dr. Aji also had already explained about that in his presentation, about translating clearly first, and then we can consider about other aspects. And as I had already given in my presentation, also it's very difficult to for instance, to translate about things or terms related to culture. Dr. Syed also had already explained about some terms, cultural terms, and also suggests the best translation for that by using euphemism. And using pragmatics, of course, we have to be careful about the context first. What kinds of terms and
give some insights. words. For example, we have in English hi-fi. What's the meaning of hi-fi?
In Indonesia, TOS.
The hi-fi, like you want to buy a hi-fi radio. Hi-fi. You see, it's a high fidelity. What high fidelity means? Nice to listen to. It's very nice to listen to. That's what is meant by hi-fi. But sometimes we underestimate certain words because we use it too much until that we don't understand. Yeah. For example, in English, normally in documents, sometimes they write there AI, artificial intelligence, AI only, but without artificial intelligence. So what we do when we translate into Malay, we have to spell out kecerdasan buatan, artificial intelligence, AI. So I think that will answer the question, because in the target language, probably people do not are not used to the word. So you have to spell out and give definitions. Yeah? So there is the culture, the trend here in Kuala Lumpur when it comes to English terms which are not which are not familiarized by the readers. You need to spell out. Yeah? So I see one question there from Novrianto from Universitas Negeri Gorontalo. Do you think that the political ideology of the translators influenced the way those translators perceived and decided the translation strategy used that resulted in the lexical choices differences of the Malay translations? For audience, so you somehow choose other words like kerjasama or kolaborasi, you know, that's how politics is affecting translation strategy. Such a very simple example for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Syed, for the explanation. It's yes, that political ideology also influenced the way translators translate a text, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we're having the next question.
Maybe Dr. Adi wants to add
Dr.
something.
Aji wants to add something.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Sorry.
Actually, there is no question for me, but because there is a question about translation to Dr. Widi, so that I would like to answer a little bit. If there is a term that is not found in the target language, how to translate it? There are a lot of techniques translation course. First, you can try to make it explicit, or to paraphrase that. For example, Ramadan, that is not known in America. For example, you can make it explicit by saying the month of fasting. For example. If you the follower of foreignism, you can borrow, right? You can borrow the term and make some explanation in the footnote, right? Of course, if you follow the ideology of foreignism. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the shared ideas, Dr. Aji. We would like to discuss the next question from one of the participants, from Kevin Lauhenapesi. Hi, Dr. Widi, great sharing. The change of social interaction in digital era leads us to use internet in daily activities. What is the impact of COVID-19 hoax perlocutionary related to politeness strategy?
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to see you again, Kevin. Kevin was my student, and it's very nice to see you online. Actually, yeah, at least we see each other online now. Okay, it's a very interesting question, and in some other occasions, I also talk about the DCI. Maybe you had already known about this one, Digital Civility Index, which is a survey done by Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I don't really agree with this survey because the parameter is not in the politeness aspect, but people people comprehend the result of this survey in politeness point of view. That's why it's mixed up actually. In DCI, or this Digital Civility Index, the result turns out that Indonesian is the most impolite netizens. It's a very, very harsh thing that we are, as Indonesian, we have to clarify this. This is my opinion. Okay, and it is also one of the parameters of this DCI is one person to another person, or one culture to another culture. In Indonesia, our basic culture is we are always together forever. We support each other. We are friendly to each other. So individualism is not accepted here, but we have to be familiar with each other. That's why I think this is one of the aspects, or one of the cultural aspects, that influence the perlocutionary of doing. I'm still in the process of doing the research about this hoax and in the perspectives of pragmatics. And mostly the hoax has the Directive Speech Act. Directive Speech Act means that asks people to do something. This is the dangerous thing in responding into the improper responding of the hoax. Because if we do something which is wrong, of course, it will harm ourselves and also people. Education, and also the characteristics or the personality of the people themselves will influence the perlocution. Can also, because sometimes educated people also do the same thing. So that's why nowadays the need of the guide how to do or how to deal with the social media is very important to avoid the negative things of the response or perlocutionary acts towards the hoax or other bad things in the social media. I think that's all.
Well, sometimes there are lack of choosing which one is the correct information, which one is the hoax one. Now, I'm going to inform all of the participants to fill in the link of attendance confirmation. The link has been shared. While waiting for another participants to ask, is there any other question?
This meeting is being recorded.
Well, while waiting for another participant in my master degree in translation, but I want to ask our Islam friends. So I'm gonna ask, is there any? I believe that there will be something missing when we translate euphemism to the neutral terms, for example. So, will it affect, or if we translate euphemism to neutral words or neutral terms, will it affect the quality of the translation, especially for the Quranic text?
Okay, thank you for the question. Very interesting but difficult to answer. Because when you are preserving the euphemistic elements, somehow you will miss the original meaning. Yeah, but I think you cannot win all. Yeah. And then also you human translation will not be able to translate God's words. And and to certain scholars, translating the Quran is illegal. And yet the Quran is the most certain official translation of the Quran, which uses all the techniques and approaches of translation as we have seen just now. So I think so it might be worth for any reader to read both versions, the literal translation and also the official the certain official translation, so that you can compare both. If you want to get the literal meaning, you can check through the literal translation of the Quran published. But you want to check the one which uses all the techniques, uses the best language, uses the best euphemistic approaches or techniques, then you need to read the certain certified and official translation. I think you cannot have all in one. So that shows the greatness of the Quran itself. Like in one word, in one Quranic word, is arsalna alaihimur rihal aqim. When we send them the rihal aqim, the barren wind. So rihal al-aqim is mandul. So mostly in the Malay translation, we are they translated is ingatlah pada kaum Ad itu ketika kami menghantarkan mereka angin yang membinasakan, devastating wind. Angin yang menghancurkan, membinasakan lah. Those quite more explicit meaning, you know, rather than the original verb al-aqim, which is mandul, barren, barren. So I don't think you can get both angin yang mandul or angin yang membinasakan in one Quran translation. I don't think it is possible. So you might get the angin yang mandul from the literal translation of the Quran, and the one which has been translated explicitly in the official translation.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation, Dr. Syed.
Very.
Okay.
So that's why I say your question is very tough.
All right.
Because when you translate literally, it becomes not euphemistic, you know.
Yeah.
Dysphomism when you translate literally.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
when you translate it euphemistically, you tend to lose the original meaning.
That's right. There will be something missing in the process of translation, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the sharing. Now we have one more question from Yusuf Al-Arif from Banjarmasin, South Kalimantan. Hello, South Kalimantan, far away from here. Thank you for the insightful sharing. My question is that, does it mean that cultural politeness in the target language and source language can be the tool for translation censorship? How to do it while maintaining the sense and meaning in both languages? I think all speakers could answer this question. We talk about politeness and also about translation.
Dr. Adi.
Okay, Dr. Syed could answer.
Okay, I think I will answer, and Dr. Aji also will answer.
Yeah.
Okay, my first answer is yes. Does it mean that cultural politeness? Yes, cultural politeness plays very important role, and you must be very knowledgeable and very sensitive. Like what we have the data just now, وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. You see, in the Arabic, furujahum is explicitly, you know, is kemaluan mereka. So it's quite, the Quran uses the very explicit word. But then in the translation, you use the implicit one, the more polite one, kehormatan mereka. So all this depends on the tools of the pragmatic tools that being possessed by the translator. Yeah? And when you have that, you are able to translate it euphemistically in your translation. But it remains, translation is still translation, it's not Quran. That's my opinion. Dr. Aji, please.
Okay, I would like to answer Yusuf from Banjarmasin, South Kalimantan. Considering politeness is different from, what is it, censorship. It is just to make sure that one thing that is polite should not be translated into impolite expression in target language. So it is not a kind of censorship in one thing. Yeah? Nevertheless, it can be a tool to make some censorship, of course. Yeah, but the idea of considering politeness here is to first that a thing that is polite in the source language should not be translated into expression that is impolite, or maybe a source language expression is euphemism that is natural, but when it is borrowed into target language, it is not natural, so that it is not good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for example, when I took her as my wife and went unto her, meaning that saya menikahi dia dan menghampirinya. It is in terjemahan baru, Alkitab terjemahan baru. It is a little bit weird because when you see menikahi, it is also includes having made what is it? Made love, right? So it is part of it. That's why it is a little bit weird. That's why one thing, yeah, that what is it? Considering politeness in translation does not always mean that it is a kind of censorship. It can be nothing to do with censorship. But of course, a government, the ruling party, can use what is it? Politeness as a tool to make some censorship, or maybe a publisher or something like that. Thank you very much. That's all.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for the great sharing, Dr. SYED and also Dr. Aji, dealing with the censorship and cultural politeness as the tool of translation censorship. Well, I remind all the participants once again to fill in the attendance form. The link have been shared by the committee in the chat box. You could fill it and get your e-certificate directly in your email, sent to your email. Well, I guess there are no more questions for all of the speakers, and the times also shows that we should end our discussion, our very interesting discussion today. I would like to say once again, thank you very much to all of the speakers who have already shared.
Can you make a photograph together?
We have done
together, right?
We have done it in the beginning, sir. Or you want to take picture again?
Okay.
Before we end this webinar, I would like to greet some participants just joined, especially participants from abroad, from outside country. Again, thank you very much for the participants from Malaysia, my colleagues from UKM, also from UPM, and also participants from Brunei Darussalam. Hello, thank you very much for the participant from France, and then participants from India, Sri Lanka, Azerbaijan, Yemen, and also to Mr. Tahamid Wali from UAE, from Dubai, UAE. Thank you very much for joining this international seminar.
Thank you, Dr. Yuli, for helping me greeting all of the participants far away from here. Thank you once again to all of the participants and especially to all of the speakers, Dr. SYED NURULAKTA bin SYED ABDULLAH from University Putra Malaysia, who has given his time for to have the discussion today with us all. Thank you very much, Dr. SYED. I hope that we will have another webinar or another event which in which we could share more insightful materials. Then thank you very much to Dr. Yuli WIDYANA and also Dr. DWI AJI PRAJOKO for sharing with us. Thank you all participants for very engaging in this webinar, for being so in this webinar. Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry for all the mistakes that may be done by technically or me as the moderator. If I make mistakes, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much for your coming. And for those who are really want to have the presentation from the speakers, and you have trouble in joining the WhatsApp group, maybe you can directly chat the contact person or email us on the email, which the email can be shared here in the chat box. The committee, please type the email of our department of our study program, or you could also contact our social media in Instagram at Bahasa Inggris UKWMS or in Facebook page Bahasa Inggris UKWMS. You could directly ask us there, and we will happily share the presentation file to you. Well, thank you very much for your coming today, for your participation in this international webinar on politeness in translation and pragmatics perspectives. I'm Priska Melasari. I'm saying goodbye to you all. See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Aji.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Syed. See you next webinar.
This is
Terima
very
kasih Bu Budi.
this is very special.
Ya, ini